Nigeria's advertising regulatory agency, ARCON, has sued Meta in a court in the country's capital, Abuja. The Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria is asking the court to declare as illegal and unlawful the continued exposure of various unvetted and unapproved advertisements directed at Nigerians through Facebook and Instagram. Bukola Akingbade, a digital marketing expert who once headed Nigerians' frontline digital agency, ByteSize, believes that the move by Arcon may be appropriate, but stakeholder engagement is necessary because the practice of digital advertising is different from traditional advertising.
It's interesting, I think that's for sure. And I suppose it will be good to see where it ends. But personally, just in terms of personal opinion, I don't know if you remember this whole journey of regulating digital comms and stuff like that. If I remember, this was way back before I left ByteSize. I remember having a question thrown at me when we're doing a marketing edge thing on at TVC. Same question about 7 years ago. And at the time, APCON also wanted to do the same. Change or edit the law a little bit to give them a bit more jurisdiction. So I know that you know that it used to be advertising practitioners council, and now it's more advertising, I suppose, more regulatory capacity that they now have to try to cover the breadth of marketing communications, right? So I think that was the first thing that they needed to do. So at least I think legally they do have a leg to stand on in terms of the remit, right? And I know that a few cases had happened, where APCON had taken a few companies to court around things like this and they'd lost. But now with the changes, maybe the expectation is, this is one to watch out for to see how it goes.
In the suit, the federal government agency is seeking 30 billion naira as sanction for the violation of Nigeria's advertising laws and for loss of revenue as a result of the alleged violations by the American company.
Personally speaking, I don't think you can retrospectively do a fine where you previously didn't have jurisdiction. That's the other thing with the suit is, it's not an issue unless you're saying between when ARCON, could regulate in much broader capacity, then 30 billion has now been incurred. That's a completely separate conversation. But I don't think that is. I think it's more retrospective. But I think more importantly is that they want the media owners, to become a type of gatekeeper to ensure that ads that are flighted are in compliance. But I think that is we can. I don't think for digital we can follow that process, because anybody who knows anything about digital, about social, is that there is a scale and a speed that needs to happen. We can't centralize this. Centralizing it is going to stifle, and it's just going to slow down absolutely everything, right? In my opinion, I think we have to think a bit different thing that we've done for traditional channels. I think we need to put in the codes and, regulate the practitioners, right? And the advertisers, and let us be the ones, who are held accountable if we flight what is not appropriate.
In a public statement issued after the suit, the council stated that it has no intention of regulating the online media space. Instead, the council said its focus is on ensuring compliance with advertising laws on online platforms in accordance with its Establishment Act.
I think a lot of what we see, generally speaking, is more self-regulation, right? You have the CAP codes in the UK that guide how we operate as practitioners, and it is in our best interests as practitioners to ensure that we all live to that, so that we don't get regulated in a heavy-handed way externally. So personally, I'm all for self-regulation. I think I'll start there. That's the first thing. All right. The second thing, obviously, is practitioners are the ones that are meant to be, I suppose, not just practitioners, and I suppose on the brand side as well, because we're all supposed to be APCON or ARCON certified, so to speak, and so that we know better, and therefore we do not infringe on the law. And when we do, then we're called to order.
Some consumers and marketers are claiming the latest move is intended to regulate the digital marketing space. Bukola, however, supports the sanitization of the industry and wants restrictions on some types of online advertising.
Sensitization over sanctioning, I think calling people to the table, which also might be why this exists also, to be honest, to call stakeholders to the table so that they're part of the reform. I think this also might be part of that. But yeah, it's tough to police digital ads without a lot of technology. Yes, a lot of automation. I think it's tough. I'm not sure that we should, right? But yeah, those are my thoughts. I do think that we're on a path to sanitizing the industry. I think so. I think this needs to be revisited, personally speaking, because I don't see a way where if it isn't decentralized, it would work. So I think that that's the path that we need to try to take and hold ourselves accountable as an industry for things when they are done incorrectly or out of the codes. But personally, I would really love to see a restriction, and I'm not kidding here, a restriction on gambling and betting ads as an example before Watershed. I don't know why betting and gambling ads are allowed to run before 10 on TV. I don't get it. I think they're really, really destructive, generally speaking. I don't know why they're allowed to run. So I would personally like to see reforms like that. And I know that there's so many other, maybe not so many, but there are a few other changes that some other people might like to see. So I think consultation would be welcome, I suppose.
The Guardian TV reached out to Facebook for their comment, and here was the response in an email to us. We are aware of media reports suggesting that the Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria has instituted a claim against Meta. We don't comment on ongoing legal claims. From the Meta spokesperson. Some industry players have said that the action by Arcon is a case of going after the digital media platforms instead of the agencies or advertisers, perhaps due to a lack of capacity. Is the case about hounding the platform instead of the advertisers due to a lack of capacity?
So short answer, I would say yes. That is the case, but also it is how they've traditionally done it. So, I use the case of outdoor. It's how they monitor. There's no, because if you're monitoring manually, like technically speaking, you go and start at the gates. That's what you do. There's why am I trying to chase all of you? We'll try to do all the different areas, but we would also stand at the gates, to tell these people that, and the fines are quite hefty. If like for an outdoor company that flies something that's not vetted, it's ridiculous. It's obviously to try to ensure that they don't flight, right? It's not really so that, well, I don't know for sure, but I don't think that it's so that they pay. I think it's more to the threat of it to say, every time somebody sends something that is not vetted, whereas, to ensure that they comply. I think that's why it is done like that. So for digital, like I said, it's going to be really hard to police, and that's to be able to police it or enforce it. That's where they want to try to stand. I don't think that that's the best way. I think that sensitization over sanctioning, I think calling people to the table, which also might be why this exists also, to be honest, to call stakeholders to the table so that they're part of the reform. I think this also might be part of that. But yeah, it's tough to police digital ads without a lot of technology. Yes, a lot of automation. I think it's tough. I'm not sure that we should, right? But yeah, those are my thoughts.
On whether the matter should be settled out of court, Bukola thinks otherwise.
Yeah, I was going to say that I think an out of court settlement will send the wrong message.
Okay.
I personally think Meta should stick to their guns. I don't think they should settle out of court. If not, it's going to probably send a different message. In this case, unless there's, there might be information that we're not privy to. So, yeah, personally, I think that sometimes, especially speaking about Nigeria, I think sometimes we, as businesses, obviously, we don't have deep enough pockets sometimes as small businesses to take authorities to court. I can give so many examples, especially with double taxation and things around input tax, for instance, with taxation and what that means for our industry. A lot of us don't have the deep pockets to stay in court with the authorities, but I think it's important to do so if indeed we believe that it's not the suit isn't as credible as it needs to be.
Digital tech regulation has been a thorny issue for governments across the world, with most countries yet to fully figure out how to manage it. If regulated, it is believed that the impact will be felt by a lot of small businesses and the digital marketing industry as a whole.
Okay, so first, I think it suggests that, like everyone else in the world, we're also coming to terms with a new medium that we all do not know how to regulate. It's not just a Nigerian issue, right? Most countries do not know how to regulate. The power shifts are clear to see, right? That it's moving from the more regulated practitioners, right, to creators. It's a global issue. Everybody's trying to figure out how to solve this problem. But again, the gatekeepers obviously remain the media owners, remain the brands themselves, right? The agencies, I think, are losing power in a lot of markets. So, Arcon's point might be, see, if power is shifting, let's go and, hold guard somewhere else. Some of that might be the thinking, but I still do think that self-regulation is still, a much better way to go. But I think with any change, though, with any significant change, there's always going to be uproar. Like because if something has been working a certain way for a long time, changing it, whether even if it's a really good change, you're going to have an uproar. So I would say that, time will tell how this will fully affect the industry. I personally think that this is not one of the better reforms that we've seen in recent times in Morocco. I think they've done phenomenal work in certain areas, and it's appreciated. But in terms of small businesses and the impact that vetting or costs or speed might have on them, I think they would be affected quite significantly. I think unless they fall, there might be. Again, this is the other thing in terms of the depth of the law. We don't really know for sure at this point whether there are concessions for certain level of companies, whether we don't know in terms of vetting costs and things like that. But I suppose as things unfold, we'll find out more information. But I do expect that small to medium-sized businesses would also be quite affected, since this, social media and digital platforms are their main platforms for communication and for marketing.
Meta Platforms Incorporated owns the Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp platforms and generates billions of dollars annually from ad revenues from both big brands and small businesses.